Hello, Tenedranox here, and today we're going to talk about Octavia and a possible bug with her abilities. But before that, just a quick update on last week's mechanic video, which is on the double dipping with Vex armor and also Rhino's Roar. Apparently Vex armor could also increase damage on weapons that has a elemental base damage, and it increases it by 3 times. Now I'm talking about being multiplied 3 times on a specific multiplier. That means, for example, over here I have the Arca Plasmor, which does radiation damage. So that base damage is going to increase. Let's say my Vex armor has an increment of 500% damage. So it's going to increase that base damage by 500%. And then that overall damage is going to increase again by another 500%. And then that overall damage is going to increase again by another 500%. So like 3 folds, or 3 to the power of 3. And I'm going to show you a quick example over here. Let's see. Let's summon a ancient healer. Now healers are actually really good because they don't have any armor, so therefore it doesn't really hinder the damage. So you could see, alright, so without a critical it does 151 damage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my Vex armor, try to hurt myself. Oh my god, I think I might die. Oh, okay. So my fury now is at 523%. Alright, come back to my primary weapon and let's see the damage. Aha! You see that? It's only about 36,000 damage. Now that damage can also be increased with other mods like damage multiplier mods and pretty much everything else except for elemental mods. So if you put in let's say corrosive from your elemental mods, those damage done by corrosive is actually only going to be increased by Vex armor's multiplier by 2 folds. So instead of to the power of 3, it's going to be increased by to the power of 2. If you'd like to see more examples or a detailed explanation on what just happened, I'd like to direct you to Summit's video at SnowOnTheSummit, which is his channel, and definitely go check it out. I'll put that video at the description and also the link at the card at the top of this video. He is one of the content creators at our Discord, and he told me that he got the idea from watching my last week's video, which is the double dipping with the Vex armor. However, the first time I actually heard about this is from Shepard, last week's winner, and he actually included that in his message as well. I just didn't have the time to go through it, but luckily Summit has covered it, and I would really like you guys to see it because I don't think I could explain it any clearer or better than he just did. So back to today's main topic, which is on Octavia and her first 2 abilities. This idea was shared to me by Tenedranox. I hope I pronounced this correctly. It's because of his sharing, he is this week's giveaway winner. If you're familiar with what Wiki has to say about Octavia, what I'm about to show you might not make sense. And since the damage is not always very consistent, I'm not going to try to formulate anything to explain that damage. However, I do have some of my suspicion and I'll share some of it with you, and I'd like to see your conclusion down at the comments below. So let's start with the demonstration. Over here we have 20 ancient healers and they're all set at level 150 and they are all paused. Okay, so what I want to do is to use my first ability and then my second, like this. And what you realize is that the damage, the pulse from the music is creating damage to them, and it's slowly ranking up, and you can see now it does like 30k, and there you go, and they die. Now you can actually use your 4th ability to increase the range. So for example like this, and now the range is even bigger, and there you go. And also when something kind of interesting happens is that enemies that was exposed the first time, if you try to redo that again, that means after your 1st and 2nd ability has expired, it doesn't seem to work. See, it's no longer working unless a new enemy comes in, and then it starts the tick and every single one of these enemies will start to take damage again. Now in case if you're wondering that it's all due to the enemy being paused, so I'm going to try this again, but this time I'm going to unpause the enemies and we're going to see how that turns out. Don't worry about me, I am currently immortal. So right now they are not paused. You can see again the damage is slowly ranking up. Now at 3k, oop, it's getting higher. So I'm going to use my 4th ability to increase the range. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There you go, there's one over here. Die and die. Now do take note that the Mallet or the Resonator has not been taking damage. It hasn't even taken a single hit and is doing this much amount of damage. So it really doesn't kind of make sense. In case you guys are wondering, I brought it to a mission as well, and the mission that I tested on is a cat, and this is what happened. Now let me share with you as much as possible what we have managed to find out before we come to our own conclusions. So the first thing is that we realize that the damage that is slowly ranking up on the enemies has a cap. At some point, the damage will more or less stop ranking up, and we want to know what is causing that cap. So if you were to take a look at the Mallet ability, it does actually says here that the damage absorbed is accumulated and stored briefly before diminishing over time. So after a certain period of time, it will start to lose damage, although it still absorbs damage, so it kind of cancels out each other, and it will remain a certain amount of damage. So for example, if it's absorbing 100 damage per second, and let's say it could absorb up to 10 seconds before it starts to lose his first second, the damage that he absorbed the first second, so therefore he will do like 1k damage per beat, and then immediately on the 11th second it will lose 100 damage. However, he will gain another 100 damage, so therefore it will remain at 1k damage per beat. So this is sort of what's going on, and I believe that is what's causing the cap. Now knowing this, we also found out that the damage source is actually from the Mallet. However, just by throwing the Mallet, you're not going to get that kind of damage. So what's going on is most likely that the Resonator is the one that is giving damage to the Mallet. So over here you can see that by right, the Resonator should do about 125 blast damage per beat. And those damage is being accumulated by the Mallet and is being used to inflict on the enemy. And this is what the first part which we believe is happening, or at least I believe is happening. Now in Wiki, it does not actually tell us when the damage actually starts diminishing, so I guess we have to test this out ourselves, and based on what I could see, it feels like it's around 20 seconds before the damage starts diminishing. Now I've tried this with higher power duration and also with low power duration. It doesn't seem to affect the timing before it starts diminishing, so it's about roughly 20 seconds. You're welcome. Now another way to actually check if the Mallet is the one that is actually doing the damage is by changing the music up a little bit. So this, my current one, it's pretty much like 1 beat per second. It's a very simple thing. I could actually load one of my other one that has the Mallet do like 8 beats per second, and we're gonna see how that affects the damage. So let's see. Okay, let's get that, just make sure the field is clear. Alright, so if the Mallet is indeed the one dealing the damage, you're gonna see a lot of damage coming out from it. There, do you see it? Lots and lots of 2s. Now if you actually kinda include all this damage, it's not doing as much damage as before. And it's kind of weird because by right, according to what I believe in, is that whatever damage that it's supposed to do within 1 second is going to divide it into, let's say in this case, 8 times. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So having separate beats, or at least in this case, does seem to contribute more damage. So for example, let me just show you again. I'm gonna come up here, I'm gonna switch over to the other beat that I have. So I'm doing this in one shot so that you guys can see that I did not change anything else. So let me change to this one, which is 1 beat per second. Save it. Close. Okay. So let me just refresh the enemy. Okay. Mallet and the ball. Now you see it starts off with 60 something and now it goes to 200 and then now it's 300. So obviously it's a lot higher damage than what you saw just now, which is a bunch of 2s and sometimes 0s. It might be because of a lower damage limit that it couldn't pass. There could be other reasons to this, but from what I could see, this is happening. So who knows, maybe the beat does actually matter. Now next thing I want to show you is that the number of enemies being affected will affect the damage. So for example, over here I have 1 ancient healer. Okay, and very quickly I'm gonna dash all the way there, use the mallet and also resonator, and you can see that the beat, it started off with 60, now it's 100, now it's 200 something, and so on and so forth. Alright, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rush back, and Jesus, it's kind of long. Okay, so I'm gonna throw my resonator and mallet over here so that it doesn't affect the incoming enemies that I'm about to summon. And this time I'm gonna put in 8 enemies, simulate. Okay, I'm gonna run over there now. I'm gonna use the mallet and also resonator. As you can see, it started off with 500-ish and now it's ranking up to 2k. There you go, it's about 3k now and it's slowly still ranking up. So the more enemies being affected, the damage seems to increase even faster or even more. So this actually tells us 2 things. First of all, if the damage is from the resonator and then it is then absorbed by the mallet and amplified and redirect to the enemies around, it would seem that the damage absorbed by the mallet is not only from the resonator but from all the damage done on the enemies by the resonator. The second thing that I was wondering is that since this sort of method of playing is so easily produced, the damage is so easily produced, why isn't there more people doing this? And I feel like it has something to do with YouTubers. I've seen a lot of Octavia videos before actually making this one, and the majority of them all tells you to get narrow-minded, you know, like forget about range, look for a narrow hallway, use your first ability, use your fourth ability, stuff like that. So I guess you won't be able to see this thing in action if your range is really small, because not enough enemies is within that range, therefore the damage is actually not that significant. So therefore it's the YouTuber's fault. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's your fault for not checking. What am I talking about? I didn't check either. Well, but then again, it could be a bug and it could be new. So next is about power strength. So this method of dealing damage is affected by power strength, which kind of makes sense because if the damage really truly comes from the resonator and then it's being absorbed by the mallet, so since the resonator's damage is affected by power strength, the whole damage thing should be affected by power strength as well. So without actually showing you the testing on that, there is something that I would like to note is that if you were to fight against ancient disruptors, let's say 8 again, so their damage is going to be lacking a lot because of their aura. So over here, even though there's 8 and this, and you can see that the damage per beat is actually really low and it doesn't rank up as fast as it would. So simply because the amplification from the Mallet is being reduced, and so is the initial damage from the Resonator. Most likely. I really don't know. Now one final note is that this method of playing seems to be affected by things that can actually put enemies in and out alertness state. For example, Excalibur's blind. Now this is not very consistent because sometimes the damage increases a lot, sometimes very little, sometimes it doesn't do anything at all. So I'm not actually going to display it or try to explain it. I do think that having a max range Octavia is kind of cool, considering that the Resonator could make enemies sort of like useless and just run around. I think that could actually make the environment a lot safer for Octavia and also your allies. However, I do not actually play Octavia that much, so do let me know what you guys think and if you know what's going on. I guess that's pretty much it for this video. If you want to join in and stand a chance to win a giveaway code, all you have to do is make sure you're a subscriber, join my Discord, and in my Discord there is a channel for video suggestion. Put your suggestion there, and with some luck I'll make a video based on your suggestion and give you that giveaway code. Don't worry if you are in console or PC, I happen to have them all now, so yeah, do that. Finally, don't forget to like and subscribe guys. I'll see you in the next video and have a pleasant day. Bye bye.